and welcome to the Old Fart's Fix-It Corner. You guessed it, I'm the Old Fart. What the Fix-It Corner is all about is me sharing with you some of the tricks and the things that I learned and the experience that I got through 20 plus years in the construction business to help you fix some of the things at home and save some money by doing it yourself. So let's look at the next project.
So this is what the finished product looks like in the end. And it's hinged so that we can open it up and put our windows sashes down inside.
Well, in segment 1 we left off with us installing the 1x on the sides where we had installed wiring for electric boxes. So we went ahead and continued to do that for the rest of the room. Okay, then before we can install the plywood, there's a couple more braces, structural supports that we need to put in. One is we're going to put a piece of 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch strip at the bottom. It'll go from post to post, just to give support to the bottom of the plywood. We'll screw it into there. And then also, because our plywood's not long enough to cover the entire length, there's going to have to be a couple places where there's a seam or a split. And so what we're going to do is we decided to use the posts where we do not have an electric plug, and we're going to take and install a 2x4 in here, and we'll split the plywood on that 2x4. Okay? And then that way it'll be a good solid joint where the plywood is separated into pieces. And just so you know, these little strips, 3/4 by 3/4, are not anything that we purchased. It's actually leftover from whenever we were ripping these 1x's for the post, and this is the remainder, because we made these exactly 4 inches, and so this is what the remainder was. And we just ripped these down to 3/4 by 3/4, because 1x is actually 3/4 of an inch thick. So we just made little squares, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-drill them all so that they don't split when we run the screw through. I think probably 5 screws per board will be plenty good enough. Now we should be able to put the screws through there without splitting the board. So what we need to do with these small pieces is line them up with the surface of the post on each end and put a screw in there. Once I have each end lined up and screwed in, I'm using this 4-foot level straight line just to go across here and make sure that this small piece isn't bowed in or out, and then make sure that it's straight. Once I know it's straight, then I can go ahead and put a screw in the center. Once the center is screwed in, then I can go ahead and put screws in the other 2 holes. next we're going to go ahead and install our 2x4 where our plywood is going to split. It's a little snug, but that's okay. Alright, we want to tap this in flush so it's flush with the face of the post. Now I have it flush at the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and put a screw in down there. Alright, now I'm going to tap it in flush at the top. Just screw in up here. One or two more screws. Then we're going to screw off the other side. Just like that, and that's finished. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to the rest of the way down so that we have all of our braces in place. Okay, we're just going to move on down the line. Alright, next we're going to start to install the plywood, and what we're going to need to do is cut openings for our electric faucets. So we will take a measurement to the center of this, which in this case is 34 3/4. Okay, so what we've done here is we've measured from the edge of our plywood. The plywood's already cut the height. We measured from our plywood and put our center marker. And then we have one of our boxes here, and the box needs a hole 2 1/4 inches wide and 3 3/4 inches tall. And it needs to be pretty exact because with this type of box, the way it works is it slides through the hole, then these flip up and tighten in against the back of the plywood. So that's what we're going to need there. So anyhow, once we have taken and got our center mark, 2 1/4 divided in half is 1 1/8. So from our center mark, we measure out 1 1/8 to each side, and then we should have 2 1/4. All right, then we get a framing square and hook on, come to our mark, and cut, draw a line, get our other mark, draw a line. Then, because it's a porch, we're going to install the boxes a little higher off the floor than you normally would in a house. Normally in a house they're 14 to 16 inches to the bottom of the box. Here we're going to make them 18 3/4. So put an 18 3/4 inch mark down, and then we know that the box is 3 3/4 tall from there, and so from that mark up we measure 3 3/4 and put another mark. Then we take our square and lay our square against our vertical line and bring it to the mark on the bottom. Get our bottom mark. And then we do the same on the top. Get our top mark. Now we should have an opening 2 1/4. I'm going to take it up to the 10-inch mark to make it easier to read. 2 1/4 by 3 3/4, and we're right on the money. Now we're going to use a saber saw to cut that out. Some people call it a hand jigsaw, but it's a saber saw to cut it out. But in order to get through the wood to begin with, we're going to need to drill a hole. So we'll drill one right there, so we can get our blade in. All right. Go. That should be what we're looking for. We'll double check it with our box here. Beautiful. Fits nice and snug. That's good. Okay, next we're going to start installing the plywood. As we saw before, we measured and cut the holes for the electric boxes. So we slide our plywood into place. Make sure we put the wires through the hole. Slide her up there tight. Alright, we want to make sure the plywood's in tight against the corner where it belongs. Plywood's a little warped, so we're kind of fighting it a little bit. It'll have a tendency to do that in the humidity. couple screws right in the middle. That'll hold it in place. And the best way to make sure we catch these one buys the whole way down. Just take a framing square, lay it on here, center it. And use yourself a pencil mark to go by. So what we're going to do is we're going to screw this down the center and then out to the right and out to the left before we screw it into these other poles. So let me go ahead and continue to do that. It's mainly because the plywood's warped. If the plywood didn't have the warp in it, then we could just screw it anywhere, but we have to work the warp out of it. We are also installing braces across the top here, but these will only be temporary. These are just to try to help keep some of the bow out of the plywood when we install our tongue and groove, and it helps make the plywood stiff. So we want to install the screws as close to the top of the plywood as we possibly can. Like so. And I'm installing the ones on this because this particular piece of plywood is warped pretty good. I'm installing these before I even screw the corners in or screw the posts in, because I want to try to make sure that those posts, it's going to hit the post where it's supposed to and won't be fighting the bow and the plywood. Now once I have that screwed in, then I can go ahead and finish screwing off the corner post here. Now I'll work my way across to the left. Because I'm right-handed, I'm probably still going to be in the way of the camera, but figured I'd give it a try. And just like the other side there, we're going to try to install the top brace before we attach it up this post. Just in hopes that if there's any twist or warp in here, we can pull some of that out. Again, these top braces are only temporary. They'll only be there until after we install the tongue and groove and the glue has a chance to dry on the tongue and groove. Alright, now we'll attach it up the post, starting at the bottom and coming up because the top is bowed out. Now, even though we installed this 2x4 in the center to attach the seam to, we still want to attach it to the 1x down along here. So I'm going to get my framing square and draw a line just like I did before.
Alrighty folks, well, we're just going to go ahead and finish installing all the plywood using the same technique that we've already showed you. Once we get all the plywood installed, we will be ready to start on the next phase, which will be installing the tongue and groove and then doing the finish. In the third and hopefully final segment, we're going to go ahead and install the tongue and groove, the electric boxes, put the trim in, and then finally the hinged lid that'll finish up our project. Again, this is what the finished product looks like. Hope that this is an inspiration to you for your house. See you next time.